Nigeria, an African energy giant, is on a mission to achieve energy self-sufficiency. President Bola Tinubu is spearheading this ambitious endeavor. His administration recognizes the need to unlock Nigeria's vast energy potential. The goal is to move away from dependence on foreign energy sources. Tinubu's vision includes expanding domestic refining capacity. This will ensure a steady supply of petroleum products for Nigeria's growing population. Attracting foreign investment in the energy sector is a key component of Tinubu's strategy. He aims to create a favorable investment climate for international energy companies.
In the last 1.5 years, a lot has happened under President Bola Tinubu. So much has happened that has now, changed the entire energy landscape in Nigeria. When the president came, the story was that if you go to the global stage and campaign for investment in Nigeria, you should also be willing to say, come and invest at will and also divest at will.
This includes streamlining regulations and providing incentives. By partnering with global players, Nigeria hopes to accelerate the development of its energy infrastructure. The government is committed to creating a win-win situation for both Nigeria and its investors. Nigeria's energy aspirations extend beyond oil and gas. The country is also exploring renewable energy sources like solar and wind power. These efforts are part of a broader plan to diversify Nigeria's energy mix and promote sustainability. However, the transition to renewables will be gradual. Nigeria's energy independence drive is not without its challenges. Security concerns, regulatory hurdles, and infrastructure deficits need to be addressed. However, the government is determined to overcome these obstacles and position Nigeria as a leading energy player on the global stage.
Nigeria is investing $20 billion in its energy sector. Nigeria's energy sector set for boom as President Tinubu unveils reforms gains. President Ahmed Tinubu has recently declared that the reforms in the energy sector is paying off with operationalization of local refinery, landmark projects like the Dangote Refinery and the sale of crude oil in Naira to enhance local refineries' competitiveness. President Tinubu, who spoke during the opening ceremony of Nigeria International Energy Summit 2025, declared that Nigeria is positioned as a global energy powerhouse with opportunities in oil and gas exploration, renewable energy, and domestic refining. The summit, themed Bridging Continents, Connecting Investors Worldwide with Africa's Energy Potentials, aims to attract global investments and strategic partnerships to unlock Africa's vast energy resources. Represented by the Minister of State Finance, Dr. Doris Uzoka Hanite, the President noted that the removal of PMS subsidies and FX revitalization have liberalized the economy, making it an all-attractive investment destination, adding that going forward, the federal government will focus on sustainable development, energy security, and industrialization to create jobs and prosperity for Nigerians. He said that Nigeria is developing a hydrogen policy to integrate both blue and green hydrogen into energy's mix, leveraging natural resources and strategic geography. He said, and I quote, "Here in Nigeria, we are actively developing a hydrogen policy to attract investors and integrate hydrogen in our energy mix. We have unveiled the Hydrogen Development Agenda, committed to creating a unified national hydrogen policy. This policy aims to harness the potential of both blue and green hydrogen, leveraging our abundant natural resources and strategic geographic position. I therefore encourage you to be a part of our hydrogen journey."
Despite the challenges, Nigeria's energy sector is showing signs of resilience and growth. Oil production has increased significantly, and new oil and gas reserves are being discovered. The government's efforts to attract investment and streamline regulations are starting to yield positive results. The presidential executive order on oil and gas sector reforms is a testament to Nigeria's commitment to creating a more investor-friendly environment.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Engineer Mohammed Hamel, Secretary General of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum. Please let's give him another round of applause.
Let me say that before we came, for over 2 years, there were pending divestments in Nigeria that were basically disincentive to investment in Nigeria. All of you seated here, if you want to invest in any country, the global norm is that you go to any country you want to invest at will and also have the privilege to divest at will. But where that is not the case, that will be a major fundamental disincentive to investment. So when this president came, the story was like that. But when he came as a businessman, he changed the narrative. Today, I'm very proud to announce, and this is just an addendum to what the permanent secretary has said, to what IPPG has said, to what my colleague in gas had said, to what GCO, had said. But I said I don't want to repeat anything somebody has said. But I dropped everything they have said as my own. But I'm just adding an addendum. That look, as an addendum, it's important for me to state that Nigeria is ready for business. Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria has shown. In case you have forgotten, let me remind you that Owando acquired, Nigerian Ajibo Oil Company. Owando, you are smiling. I can see that you are smiling. We also had Chapel Energies, that acquired, stake in, Total Energies, and then they also have, they use their vehicle or Dimin, and then they have, they use Equinor, in Agbami oil field operated by Chevron. Seplat acquired ExxonMobil, which was a major issue. And Renaissance is buying over Shell. And this is very fundamental. It underscores the fact that Nigeria is a very, very attractive investment destination. Bring your capital to invest, and you can divest at will. It also shows that we have developed or grown enormous local capacity. That those who are buying over these assets are those who have worked in Shell and the IOCs alike, and they have capacity to be able to run these companies in a manner that will be profitable. Nigeria has nothing to lose. We'll get a royalty, we'll get our taxes, we'll get our benefits.
Belgium, a significant exporter of petroleum products to Nigeria, is closely watching these developments. There is growing concern in Brussels about the potential impact on Belgian exports. Nigeria's push for domestic refining could displace some of Belgium's market share. This has sparked a dialogue between the two countries on how to navigate this evolving energy landscape. Ambassador Peter Lingnecht, Belgium's representative in Nigeria, has expressed his country's concerns. He acknowledges the potential disruption to Belgian exports. However, he also emphasizes the importance of understanding and respecting Nigeria's pursuit of energy independence. Belgium, he assures, is committed to working with Nigeria to find mutually beneficial solutions. Nigeria, in response, has sought to reassure its European partners. The government maintains that its energy policy is not about shutting out foreign companies. Rather, it's about optimizing Nigeria's resources for the benefit of its people.
Nothing to worry about. And I have no hesitation making this case at the global stage, saying that Nigeria has nothing to lose. It's also important for me to state here that no IOC is leaving Nigeria. All the IOCs cannot find a better location than Nigeria for business.
Okay. Let's welcome for our next panelist. Let's welcome Professor Benedict Orama, President of African Import Bank, represented by Mr. Ayo Mubarak. You're welcome to your seat on the podium.
Energy transition, we say in OPEC, it's energy transitions. We add an S at the end to it. Because we believe that there's no single pathway. Every country has the right to take its own and chart its own pathway to achieving its energy security, reliability, affordability, and the way it should meet its targets on emissions reductions. And let me remind everybody, the Paris Agreement is not about choosing energy sources. The Paris Agreement is not about getting rid of fossil fuels and moving to hydrogen or what have you. The Paris Agreement is about reducing emissions. And that's what we've all committed to.
Thank you,
if we
sir.
can reduce emissions from oil and gas, and we can, we should also adequately invest in countries like Nigeria and Africa, all around the world, to be able to use those technologies that are widely available, such as CCUS, direct air capture, and we should focus on solutions that are immediately available as well, rather than looking at solutions that cost probably $200 a barrel of oil equivalent today.
Thank you, Secretary General. Thank you for giving us that welcome perspective. So I'd like to come back to you, Special Advisor. Perhaps maybe you can also respond to some of the things that Dr. Mshabila said, but to hear your thoughts on the gas piece, and also just to hear your thoughts on what innovative financing mechanisms is Nigeria pursue. Because 2 years ago, all that was in the news was this NNPC oil deals. But we know there's so much more to funding and scaling the industry. So over to you.
So thank you. To respond to some of the challenges we're seeing in export, or some of the points that Dr. Mshabila highlighted, he's very correct about the reason that NLNG is a model, and it's one that we should replicate for sustainability and the ability to actually attract capital to this sector. When you have clear governance, stable companies that also that go through the commercial rigor and the financial rigor to identify markets, make sure that they rank their projects economically, answer to shareholders, that those models work and they attract capital. And across our sector, it is what we should be seeing, not only just on the upstream side and the midstream side, but even in the smaller scale businesses. You really need to do the work of making sure that there's commercial rigor and financial rigor and accountability, and all the good points that he made about why the NLNG model works. In terms of some of the worrying trends that we're seeing around security, that remains the challenge that we need to resolve. We've seen some successes in some models that we deployed very early on in the administration, which involved us working with the operators of those assets to really understand the underlying causes of, and make sure that we can design very targeted security interventions.
No.
Okay.
No, seriously. For you to become an investor in Africa Energy Bank, you must share our vision that the oil and gas industry has a future. We don't want to bring investors that will make it impossible for us to pursue the objectives for which we set up the Africa Energy Bank. If countries or financiers come from outside with a lot of money because they have a lot of dollars, they will come and make it impossible for us to move the way we want. See what's happening in the Africa Development Bank. There are many things that we are not against them, but don't take for granted that we are ready to accept any finances.
Thank you, Secretary General. I guess I was just assuming that leopards can change their spots, but perhaps not. I'll leave the last word to the Secretary General of OPEC.
Yeah, thank you. I think also referring, I didn't want to touch this area, but since the Honorable Ambassador spoke about historical emissions, I think it's important to highlight facts. And I say here the facts. In the Paris Agreement, there is the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. Now, I don't need to lecture anybody on historical emissions. You can all go to Google search and find them. But it's definitely not Africa. It's definitely not OPEC that has caused the highest global historical emissions.
Thank you.
That's number one. Number two, I think, is when we get so fixated on a certain source of energy, be it renewables, be it oil, be it gas. I think we have to look at all sources of energy. And the message we at OPEC are saying is very clear. The world will need all sources of energy. Let me give you a simple statistic to walk away with. Since we're here in Nigeria, in Abuja today, from now to 2030, which is less than 6 years from today, 5 years, if my maths is okay, We're talking about UN statistics, this is not OPEC statistics, showing nearly 600 million people moving into new cities all around the world from now to 2030. Now, since we're in Nigeria, let's put this number into context. The population of Nigeria is what? Close to 200 million, from 200 and something? So we're talking about 3 new Nigerias, the size, cities, the size of 3 new Nigerias from now to 2030. Can we just imagine the sheer magnitude of this challenge, the daunting size of this challenge and task to provide for reliable, and I use the word reliable, not intermittent, reliable sources of energy, affordable sources of energy, accessible sources of energy that will enable the development of Nigeria and countries like Nigeria all around the world. So I don't think we should get fixated about green hydrogen or blue hydrogen. It's hydrogen at the end of the day. Honestly.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. I guess whatever the color of hydrogen, we need to industrialize the continent and we need to tackle energy access and energy poverty. Well, Secretary General of OPEC, Secretary General of APO, Secretary General of the GCF, Mrs. Olu Verheijen, Special Advisor to the President on Nigeria, Dr. Omar Farouk, His Excellency Mohammed Hamel, Professor Benedict Orama, ably represented by Mr. Ayo, and Dr. Philip Inshelbila, as well as my dear Ambassador Pieter Linknecht. Thank you so much for sharing your insights in such a short space of time and doing justice to it. Thank you.
Nigeria recognizes the value of its long-standing partnerships in the energy sector. Nigeria is open to exploring new avenues of collaboration with countries like Belgium. This could involve joint ventures in areas like renewable energy and gas development. Both nations are committed to a constructive dialogue to address concerns and explore opportunities in this new era of energy transformation. The Nigeria International Energy Summit in Abuja provided a platform for these discussions. Stakeholders from across the global energy spectrum convened to deliberate on the future of energy in Africa. A key point of contention was the issue of energy transition and its impact on African nations. African leaders voiced their concerns about the challenges of transitioning to cleaner energy sources while also addressing their pressing development needs. Several African leaders accused developed nations of hypocrisy. They argued that while pushing for a rapid transition to renewables, developed nations continue to invest in fossil fuel projects in their own countries. This double standard, they argued, hinders Africa's ability to leverage its oil and gas reserves for economic growth. The summit highlighted the need for a more nuanced and equitable approach to energy transition in Africa. A one-size-fits-all model, many argued, is not suitable for the continent's diverse energy needs and priorities. Despite the challenges, Nigeria's energy sector is showing signs of resilience and growth. Oil production has increased significantly, and new oil and gas reserves are being discovered. The government's efforts to attract investment and streamline regulations are starting to yield positive results. The presidential executive order on oil and gas sector reforms is a testament to Nigeria's commitment to creating a more investor-friendly environment. The order aims to cut bureaucratic red tape, expedite licensing rounds, and encourage greater participation of indigenous companies in the energy sector. Nigeria's energy future is likely to involve a combination of transition fuels like gas and investments in renewable energy sources. Gas in particular is seen as a crucial bridge fuel that can power Nigeria's industrialization, while also enabling a gradual transition to a cleaner energy mix. European nations, including Belgium, have shown interest in supporting gas development projects in Africa, recognizing its potential as a transition fuel. As Nigeria navigates this complex energy landscape, it is actively seeking partnerships that align with its development goals. The country's vast energy resources, coupled with its commitment to reform and innovation, position it as a key player in the global energy arena for years to come.
And if the fates
perhaps we're looking for one of a kind, the cultural exhibitions around the world, all traveled and places. Stay tuned to my channel, KB Jojo Newsbox, where I intend to give you every vital information, updates, interesting places, places of interest, tourism, and about people, culture around the world. Stay tuned on this channel. We promise to give you more. It's very nice. Thank you.
And if the fate fates should bless us with a moment of reprieve, we all could stand together in the silence and just breathe. Rejoice for all the happy